Jesus is flogged and condemned to death. The Gospel according to John chapter 19, verses 1 through 16. The soldiers took Jesus into the headquarters of the governor's compound and summoned a military unit of nearly 600 men. Then Pilate ordered Jesus to be brutally beaten with a whip of leather straps embedded with metal, and the soldiers stripped off his clothing and also wove thorn branches into a victor's crown and set it upon his head, and they placed a purple robe over his shoulders. Then, after placing a reed staff in his right hand, one by one, they came in front of him to mock him by saying, "Hail, your majesty, to the King of the Jews." Then they spat in his face and took the reed staff from his hand and hit him repeatedly on his head, driving the crown of thorns deep into his brow. And one after the other, they repeatedly punched him in the face. Once more, Pilate went out and said to the Jewish officials, "I will bring him out once more, so that you know that I found nothing wrong with him." So when Jesus emerged, bleeding, wearing the purple robe and the crown of thorns on his head, Pilate said to them, "Look at him. Here is your man." No sooner did the high priest and the temple guard see Jesus, that they all shouted in a frenzy, "Crucify him! Crucify him!" Pilate replied, "You take him then, and nail him to a cross yourselves. I told you he's not guilty. I find no reason to condemn him." The Jewish leaders shouted back, "But we have the law, and according to our law, he must die, because he claimed to be the Son of God." Then Pilate was greatly alarmed when he heard that Jesus claimed to be the Son of God. So he took Jesus back inside and said to him, "Where have you come from?" But once again, silence filled the room. Perplexed, Pilate said, "Are you going to play deaf? Don't you know that I have the power to grant your freedom or nail you to a tree?" Jesus answered, "You would have no power over me at all unless it was given to you from above. This is why the one who betrayed me is guilty of even greater sin." From then on, Pilate tried to find a way out of the situation and to set him free, but the Jewish authorities shouted him down. "If you let this man go, you are no friend of Caesar. Anyone who declares himself a king is an enemy of the emperor." So when Pilate heard this threat, he relented and had Jesus, who was torn and bleeding, brought outside. Then he went up the elevated stone platform and took his seat on the judgment bench, which in Aramaic is called Gabbatha, or the bench. And it was now almost noon, and it was the same day they were preparing to slay the Passover lambs. Then Pilate said to the Jewish officials, "Look, here is your king." But they screamed out, take him away, and crucify him." Pilate replied, "Shall I nail your king to a cross?" The high priest answered, "We have no other king but Caesar." Then Pilate handed Jesus over to them. So the soldiers seized him, and when they finished ridiculing him, they took off the purple robe, put his own clothes back on him, and took him away to be crucified. The challenge? Call on the name of Jesus. Believe that he is the Christ, the Son of God, and the only way to eternal life.